So you picked the positive people as your spotlight title. Can you tell me why that was?
Well, I really like that title because it applies a lot to me. I am a pretty positive person today. I wasn't. I was in a very dark place for a while there, but I found ways to find positivity. So I I I honestly have a lot of joy every day, and I thought positivity would be a good, uh, portion of the video, the type of video, I should say.
Can you please share your journey to embrace the new you?
Well, if I start from the beginning, again, I was born in Mexico City. And when I was a little girl, my dad, my mom, and my little sister, we had a pretty normal upbringing. My dad was a stockbroker, and we were, I would say, maybe upper middle class. We had three maids, private lessons, ballet, English lessons came in handy later. And unfortunately, back in September 1982, the Mexican government took over, nationalized the banks in Mexico, and my dad lost his job overnight. Little did we know, my dad, with his clients as a stockbroker, he would constantly go out and socialize with them, and alcohol was a part of that socialization and meeting with his clients. So when he lost his job, he dove straight into full-blown alcoholism. And we had some pretty tough years. My mom was lost her mind as well, in the sense that she was, pretty devastated over it. My dad ended up finding a 19-year-old girlfriend, got her pregnant, and so I have a half brother in Cabo now. But that was very devastating for my mother. And eventually, she couldn't find work in Mexico City because my mother had a third grade education. So we ended up moving with her brothers in San Jose, California. And my sister and I and my mom moved to San Jose. And there, my English came in handy. I started working, I started going to high school right away, and I started working at a Dairy Queen. And there were some fun times thinking back to those days with my limited English. But it was quite a change from Mexico City, obviously. So from there, my dad eventually followed us to the United States. He found a second wife, got married, had another son, and lived nearby. So he was still struggling with alcohol quite a bit for many years. Eventually, I got married. I have 4 beautiful children with 2 wonderful little grandbabies now. They're all in California. Well, my grandchildren are in California. And then from there, my parents, my mom passed away shortly after I had my second baby. She had ovarian cancer, and she battled it for a little bit, but 3 years later it came back, and she had a brain tumor, had some radiation, and suffered some seizures until she passed away. So that was pretty tough, losing my mom so young when I had my kids were really little. But moving forward, my husband, at the time, we were doing good, happy-go-lucky. Later on, my husband and I, we started having some issues ourselves. And during that time, I had my youngest baby was really little, and we started having some problems. My husband's brother, my ex-husband's brother, moved into town, and they started partying. They started having fun at a house that they rented. My brother-in-law rented with all the servers from the restaurant. And my husband was kind of crazy over a 22-year-old waitress at the time. It was so devastating for me that I started really struggling with it. During that time, I remember going to therapy and the doctors prescribing me Prozac. And I have to tell you, today, you can see all the commercials on TV with all the warnings on the side effects that some of these medications have. But back then, they didn't have those commercials. And nobody warned me. Within a week of me taking Prozac, I was ready to commit suicide. And it was difficult. That particular day, my kids were at school. My husband was always gone. And I had a bunch of pills. I was ready to take them. for those that have ever felt that hopelessness, it's so bad, it's so dark, it's so deep that you just don't want to feel it anymore, so you want to just end it. It really was. I've never felt anything like that, but before that, and I haven't felt it since, thank goodness, but at the time, it was really devastating. So I remember getting ready to take those pills and thinking, as I looked down the street from my kitchen, you could see the entire street, and I could see the first kids coming out of school, and I just thought, like, what am I doing? My kids are going to come home later on, and they may find me here. So instead, I couldn't stop crying. I was a mess. I decided to call the 800 suicide hotline. And the lady that picked up the phone was really sweet. Oh, honey, don't worry. It's going to be okay. Can you get in your car and come over? We'll help you. We'll talk to you. We'll make you feel better. And so I headed over to to this particular place. This is in Modesto, California. And when I got there, I had my purse and I was wearing tennis shoes. And they proceeded to take my purse, go through everything in my purse, and certain things they took out of my purse. And then they took the laces off my tennis shoes. And then they proceeded to tell me, we are sorry, but we're keeping you here for 3 days because we want to protect you against yourself. And what they had taken from my purse was anything that I could use to hurt myself. I was shocked. Obviously, I wasn't expecting that. And I was held there for 3 days. They adjusted my medication. That helped greatly. But I was there with other people. Some people were getting electric shocks, and it was quite eye-opening. My husband eventually came and picked me up, and I proceeded to continue with some therapy. The medication was a huge help when they adjusted. They took me off Prozac altogether, and I was on Paxil, I believe. So a very low dose. During those years, it was tough. It was bad, really bad. The marriage suffered a lot of issues. I regret a lot of those years because my kids had a lot of, bad examples. And we weren't the best parents, obviously. Eventually, I filed for divorce. And about a year later, I met this cop. He was a cop with the Modesto Police Department, wonderful man. And he said, I am moving out of California, and that's all I wanted to do at the time. So we we got engaged, and we moved out to Florida. And at first, I was going to Oregon. Oregon is beautiful, Bend, Oregon. I still want to have a place in Bend, Oregon. But when he said, we're going to Florida, I thought, Florida has hurricanes and big bugs, and my hair is going to be a mess. But we came out here, and clearly I loved it. I'm here now, and it has been a good decision. But when I moved out here, I moved out with him, and I left my family back in California. So fast forward 12 years or so later, March 11, 2020, I remember coming home from work. I'm living with him in Longboat Key, and the news were on, and blaring loudly was the news that the World Health Organization was calling, COVID-19 officially a pandemic. That changed a lot of things. The pandemic brought a lot of things to the surface, so to speak, and come to find out just devastating things as well with my relationship. So I moved out. I was very lucky that as a real estate agent, I was able to locate right away a rental, and it happened to be in Lido Key. At the time, obviously, because of the pandemic, everything was closed. So I was the only one renting in this complex. It was kind of difficult at the time. Obviously, I was all alone. And I really, really felt, I say this all the time, I felt so lost. I didn't know what to do at that point, if I should go back to California where my family was. I hated California. California had gotten really difficult, especially for real estate and that sort of thing. I just hated California. I didn't want to go back. And I without a partner, I've never been alone before. I've always had either my children, my parents, or my significant other. And this was the very first time in my life I was completely alone in this beautiful place, but alone. And so I decided to stay. And for the next 2-3 years, I was the first 6 months were difficult, very, very difficult. And then I got an email from church saying that they were opening after the pandemic. Now, this particular church was one that I visited years prior when I first moved here. I never went back. But at that time, it's like, well, I got nothing else. I started little by little going back to the church. But at the same time, I started going out, hanging out with some of my coworkers, going out to the bars downtown, maybe drinking a little too much. I started engaging in some dates. Some of the people, now I have to say, the gentlemen that I met were wonderful human beings. There's a lot of love for them still. They just were the wrong ones. They were not. Some of them were poor choices, obviously, because I was just lonely. Needless to say, I kept doing different things, going to church. And at the time, church was, to me, I remember going to the church, and it's a big church. It's a wonderful church. But grew up in Mexico City as a Catholic, it's a very different thing. And when I go into the church, I see people singing and lifting their hands and sometimes on their knees, crying. And I thought, oh, look at those poor people. They're broken. They're either fresh out of prison, or they were molested as children, or they're recovering alcoholics. And that's not really me. Those are weak people. And I tell you, my dad was very successful. My dad was the kind of dad that will say, get up and, shake it off, strap your boots. You're strong. You can do anything you want. So that was my approach. But as I went forward with the church, I enrolled in a program called My Freedom. And I tell people to this day, my freedom was 10 years of therapy in 6 weeks, life-changing. And that has been significant in the last 2 years. Now, as a science-based kind of person, I need to see, touch, to believe. So I really fought for a long time to trust this Jesus thing. And I've seen so many times how Jesus, is being used in ways that have really, to me, lost. It's just almost ridiculous. People use it in cuss words, and it really it just had a bad connotation for me. So it's been difficult to, to present it to others without coming across the way I saw it. And I've been very reluctant to be quite open about it. But I tell you what, at the beginning, this has been about 4 or 5 years now, at the beginning, first I went through that freedom program. And it was getting to know everything about who Jesus was and what the Bible is. And what I find is so significant now, so significant outside of the belief. I know there are people that don't believe. There's different religions, and I understand that. But I can tell you that in my experience and what I looked briefly into different religions. But Christian to me is the most significant, the most applicable for us humans, for our needs. And the way I say this is because when you understand why you were made, right? The Bible says that we were made on purpose with a purpose, and we were made by a God that loves us like nobody else will love us, and He made us in His image. And just understanding that completely switches the view that you have of yourself. And what I mean by that is, I'm not an accident. I'm not, whether my mom got knocked off or not, I'm not an accident. I am not here by mistake. I am not my issues or my flaws necessarily. I am made on purpose with a purpose, and I am unique. So God gave me a set of gifts that are only mine. And I really found the last couple of years that, to me, following that, understanding deeply that I am loved by someone, that someone created me in His image, has been life-changing. Because I don't care what people say, the neighbor or what my parents or whatever it is. If I truly understand that and believe it, is psychologically so healthy, because then I have this trust in him. He's also in charge of everything, right? He's got a certain rules, certain things to follow. And as long as we follow them, it's good for us. It has been proven, and there's several, studies how the basics of the Bible are so good for business, they're so good for your health, they're so good for relationships, everything that has to do, it's like a manual for human. For us human, it's a manual book on how we operate the best. And I found that just believing in that, trust in him has been great. But it's taken me a few years to get there. At the beginning, the closer I would get to reading and understanding and praying more every day, it wasn't that big of a deal at first. There are some very specific verses that are so significant that really make a lot of sense, like the peace of God has, oversees all understanding. And that alone has been life-changing in the sense that it has been for me. So the last year or so, as I get closer to understanding, I'm seeing more and more things in my life that I can't deny it. I can't deny it anymore. So it has given me a lot of opportunities for joy. It's just a joy, believing and understanding that. That way, I don't have to worry about what people think or what I think or what the enemy says that I am or what the world says I am. If I can believe and understand and trust it, there's a deliverance, there's freedom. There really is freedom from suffering about our issues, from suffering about our doubts and our fears. And I still have them, obviously, all the time, but they're less and less and less and less. And right now I'm in the middle of working on a program with a couple of people from church that is significant. It's regarding the loneliness epidemic. And this came from a book. I was walking the waterfront. I like to walk right over here by Marina Jacks and catch the sunsets. And I got this book at church one time, and I started reading it. And it's got all the information about the statistics, about the loneliness epidemic that is going on, and how much after the pandemic we've become even more secluded and distant. And in the current environment, we're so divisive. And but that book led me to pay attention to people as they walked around the waterfront. I see the regulars all the time, and some that I never seen, and so on and so forth. But I started paying attention, and I can tell you, you can almost see in their body language whether they are sad, lonely. I mean, there's obviously some individuals dealing with homelessness that are really struggling as well. And I started seeing everybody differently after that. And my goal, together with a couple of the people, as a matter of fact, we do every Wednesday, we come out and bring some lunch and pray for homeless individuals struggling with homelessness downtown. And at first, I used to believe I would walk downtown and I think to myself, oh, look at these homeless people here. They're trashing the place. I don't want them here because I'm trying to sell this city, and people that want to buy these beautiful $1 million condos, they're not going to like that. This is why I left California. And I was just a jerk, honestly, a jerk. Didn't have any emotion for them. I was angry with them in many ways until I started going out and talking to them. And it's life-changing when you can be in their shoes. When it's funny because they'll be young guys, they're in their 30s. And we ask them, would you like a lunch? And, most of them say yes. And you can tell they're intoxicated. Their eyes are red. They're either, you can smell the alcohol or perhaps some drugs. And some of them smell and all that. But for the most part, the younger ones were significant to me because it reminded me of my sons. They're about my son's age. But I remember one particular one, we asked him and he said yes. And then we always ask him if we can pray for them. So can we pray for you? And he said, okay. So we started praying, and this particular guy you could see all of a sudden, it's like all the pain came to his eyes, and he just started crying. And it just breaks your heart. It really does, to see them hurting. And I felt, I'm so blessed that I have what I have, and my kids are healthy. None of them are on drugs. They're successful. They have good families and good careers. And it's just, in my mind, these people are just lazy. They just want to be on drugs. And I'm sure some of them do. They don't care. They want to pay taxes. I've heard some conversations like that. But there are some others that are really, really suffering. But what was significant about this particular individual, he said, I have my little Jesus with me. And he had a little Jesus in his back. And I don't know, maybe because it reminded me of my sons, that's why it was significant. But my instinct right now is like, all I want to say is if you could understand that you are loved, that you are made on purpose with a purpose, that there's a reason why you're alive. And my goal is to help them get out of where they're at and use them. I think somebody like him could be so good for others like him, right? That can help them out to get out of the streets and out of their struggles. And I didn't think I would be so emotional about it, but it really was significant. And so with all that happening, of course, we've seen some other individuals. Some are missing teeth, and some of I remember one particular lady. So the gentleman that I go walking with, a gentleman that put this together, he's my dearest friend, and he's fairly young. Well, he's 39, but he years back, I think about 5 years ago, he was just a regular guy, having fun, doing a little, partying and drinking and all this. And he had a motorcycle. And one day, after leaving his bartending job, a lady hit him, and he lost his leg. And he was pretty devastated over that. But now he works for the church. Well, he became an attorney. Actually, he always wanted to be an attorney, so he became an attorney. He's a fairly new attorney here in town, and he's the one that does the meals for the homeless people. He's very active in the church. He's got a beautiful smile. If anybody can show you joy, it's definitely him, especially with what happened to him. He's such an example of, regardless of what happens to you, you can find joy. But with him, we go together, we talk to homeless people, we do Bible, lessons, and he has been significant in showing me how no matter what happens to you, you can still find joy. And for him and for myself, it has been just the basic understanding that we are not our situation, we are not what happened to us. We are, made by someone. And his purpose is so clear. He's got this incredible gift. He's got this beautiful smile. And he gets invited to talk at the hospital and different places because he's so significant, so impactful. And that's what him and I have been talking about, trying to do something for others to show them that, honestly, whether you believe or not in God, I find that after trying alcohol, relationships, some drugs, nothing major, but trying to find a place to close this hole, I finally found it there. It's been the most significant change in my life. And as much as my goal is to try to persuade others that are non-believers to at least look into it for maybe the psychological aspect, like therapy or something. It's so incredible what it can really do for you and change your life if you just dive into it, get to know the basic, understand who God is and his son and why he died. And that can be life-changing. It really is. It has been for me. It has been for countless others. And I just have to find a way I'm using joy to bring people to that without necessarily saying, no, you got to go see Jesus. Because that's not what I want to do. I think that scares people away. It kept me away for many years. And so I'm trying to find a way to make people work with that. So there you go. That's a lot of stuff.
Thank you. So you were saying basically you found your strength in the pandemic, in the church, in the
Everything
Bible.
started, yes. And for a long time this is another great thing about the aspect of the believing, and trusting in God, so to speak, because for a long time I was heartbroken. with my ex, the one that brought me here. He betrayed me, and I was angry and full of hate and everything else. But now that I look at things differently, I can look back and see that he had a purpose, and his purpose was to bring me here. And I'm so thankful to him today. I'm actually very thankful to him that he brought me here. This is where I was meant to be. And that was his purpose. And once he accomplished that, then he needed to be out of the way. And that's another great aspect of believing that somebody's in charge, somebody else is in charge. He's got everything planned. And no matter how dark your valley is, how much you're suffering will be used for greatness to bring others. Like the homeless, people, for instance. They can help so many others to escape if they can find that joy too. Like my friend that lost his leg. So I can't think of any other better way, honestly. And I've done some work on that, on how to bring joy to the world and that loneliness. Now I've done some stupid things lately. I've been going out. I'm more of an antisocial. I guess I started when I was working on myself. I realized that apparently I'm an avoidant, and I apologize to some of the relationships, but I started thinking, I'm going to talk to these people as I walk the waterfront. And it's amazing how I go really early, sometimes before the sun comes up. As I'm walking by, some of them are walking down like this, and they're on their own. And I say, good morning. And some of them just look up, and they give me this biggest smile. It's like that. For some of them, I'm the only one that talks to them, And just a little good morning makes a big deal. And to some others, and there's one particular gentleman that I'm still fascinated about. And he's young, probably in his 30s, and he's got a big long beard, curly hair all long. And he's really quiet. He wears a big long cross. And I've seen him just running around, running, for hours he's running. And I can't tell for sure if he's struggling with homelessness or not. Perhaps not, I can't tell. But he's just like focused, doesn't talk, doesn't. And one day I happened to be crossing, and I said, good morning. And he was literally like I broke him out of a spell or something. He was kind of startled like that. And I would love to talk to him and ask him his story. I think there's a lot of people out there. That's part of the plan, is to start a program, kind of like what you're doing. That is amazing. But also, bringing these people to tell their story, because everybody has a story, and it's actually so good for the soul to tell it. It's so good to the soul. So I'm glad you guys are doing this, and I can't wait to see all the videos that you're doing out there.
Yes, thank you. What was your biggest obstacle to overcome in your journey to embrace the new you?
I think the biggest obstacle was belief and faith. I was very resistant. I was very cynical. I was very judgmental. And some of the videos that I'm making for my channel, one of them, this is going to sound terrible, but I told myself I'm going to be brutally honest. Because some people will hate me, some will understand, some will connect. But one of the videos that I want to make is 5 ways to not hate people. Because I can tell you, I really struggle with some of that. I'm not saying I hated everybody, but I can definitely, and I was just cold-blooded, cynical, and I thought I was better than everybody else. I'm strong. I don't need drugs to make it through life. Those drug addicts, they're nothing but weak people. And that has been a life-changing for me. So quite a slap in the face to see it differently. So yeah, I think the hardest part was to really let go and trust what I was reading, trust what I was experiencing. And but it has been the best thing I've done so far.
Awesome. How do you stay positive?
Well, I do. It's just really every day. It's incredible because the most significant thing that I do the minute I wake up is to thank my God, my Creator. And what I say is, thank you, Lord, for breathing your air in my lungs, because without you, I wouldn't be here. And then I say, thank you for the day that you brought. And thank you for waking me up today. Clearly, you still have a job for me. And I can't wait to walk into what you prepared for me today. Open the doors that are from you, close the ones that are not from you, protect me. provide. Thank you for providing a roof and all the basics. And then, of course, I pray for my family. But waking up thankful, and really, that's why walking the waterfront is so significant for me, because when I walk it, I can see the beauty. It's the beauty of the little things. Even a little squirrel over there with his little tail, that can bring you some joy if you really want to look at the magnificence of creation. And especially here in Sarasota, we're so blessed that we live here. We don't live in some places like in Mexico City or other countries that are in such bad situations. We're just so blessed. And so being thankful is the best way to wake up without a doubt. It sets the whole day up. And then I do different things. Obviously, I eat well. I take care of my physical health, because if you're hurting, it's hard to be joyful if you don't have good health. I have a group of friends that I connect with. I follow my Bible app every morning. I go talk to my God. My mornings are to talk to my God. I just go out there and I talk to him. Sometimes I cry to him. I feel him. I sense him. He talks to me all the time, which is crazy, because for a long time there I thought, I think I'm losing my mind. I'm starting to see things. And it's either I'm losing my mind, or is the power of suggestion, or it really he's real and he exists. And I'm way past that. It's too ridiculous now. Sometimes he's very much ridiculous, some of the things that happen. And I have very few friends. Now, one thing I have to say, I've been going to church for about 5 years now, and I love the church, and for the most part, everybody's wonderful. But in my experience, there's a very small number of people that are truly, truly, truly Christian and hear God and trust God. For the most part, I don't think most of them have really been close enough to hear Him and to feel Him. Most people say, I'm Christian, but they don't, they continue with their sinful lives, so to speak. I'm not saying that that's sinful sounds terrible, but some of the things we do hurt us, like drinking too much hurt us. Hating people hurt us. And so when you keep doing those things, life is just not going to be the best. But that's basically it. I can talk about that for hours.
What advice can you give to others who are facing their own challenges or journeys?
I would say, honestly, if everybody could go through that freedom program. It's 6 weeks. The church where I go to, they have it. And basically what they do, they give you a book with 6 chapters. And each chapter has a project for every day of the week, five projects within each chapter. And so you meet with a group, complete strangers, total strangers that you don't know who they are. And you meet with them, and then everybody goes home, and they have their first subject in 5 days. They work through those throughout the week, and then we get together at the end of the week on Sundays for most groups, and we all go around and share what that lesson taught us. And it starts at creation, and there's another section that is about, obviously, Jesus, who Jesus is, and the purpose. And then the week 5 is the most significant, because week 5 is called heart blockages. And it really helps you to see the heart blockages that we have, the things that we've been believing about ourselves, or the things that happen to us. And now I lead some of those groups. I lead a lot of the ladies-only groups, and it's mind-blowing. I mean, to be there with these ladies, and some of them have actually, for the first time, shared things that they've never shared before, that are incredible. And they just talking about it helps them so much. They cry it out. And so the program teaches you to obviously recognize those things, and also how to forgive people and why it happened, and that it wasn't your fault. There are different things. Just like I said, it's like 10 years of therapy in 6 weeks. But if everybody could go through that, and really it teaches you who really God is and who really Jesus is, and why did he die on the cross. I never knew that. I knew there was a cross, but I never understood why he was crucified. Once I understood it, it was a mind-blowing understanding, and it just really made a difference in my life. So that's what I wish everybody would just go through that.
Which ETNU design resonates with you the most, and why?
The what, I'm sorry?
One of our designs. There's the sun, turtle, sunflower, phoenix, or butterfly.
I definitely like the sun. I think the sun is fantastic because the sun signifies, a new day. And every day is a new gift. Every day is an opportunity. And as long as we're waking up, we still have a chance to make things right. I truly believe in that. As long as, some people are really struggling. And I know it's difficult for some people to get out of bed. But in these little steps, it has to be little steps. It took me a while there. For a while, I was also one of those that didn't want to get out of bed, or I would drink too much, or I just completely didn't care about anything. And it took some time to little by little. But that's one of the things that I would love to do is what has helped me, and it's very, very small steps. If you overwhelm people, they just won't do it. I know that for experience. So that's the one thing, doing little things here and there that set your day and that give you joy.
And how has the mantra "Embrace the New You" inspired you?
It has been so, and I consider it not a mistake. That's the one thing. As a believer, I don't believe in mistakes. There's a reason for everything, and me meeting you ladies was wonderful. Coming to that event when my friend Jill invited me is significant. I think the opportunity to be here talking about it is significant. I've been fighting going out there with my project. You should see my phone. I have 5 tips for this, all the different things that have helped me. I've done them. I'm not a therapist. I'm not but I keep thinking, what are people going to say? Or, I'm fighting based on my beliefs, my view of things. But the reality is having this opportunity to come out and just say it. And just, it took me a while to say, for instance, that I'm a suicide survivor. And the first time I thought about saying that, I couldn't even say it. It was like, what's wrong with me? I can't even speak. All of a sudden, this emotional stuff came up. But being able to talk about it, and the whole purpose is to help others. So I love that you ladies are doing this. I love that your program is out there, because people are afraid. They're thinking they're the only ones. They think they're all alone. They think they're weirdos. I still think a couple of people here in my building think I'm a little weird because I say hi too much. I don't know, a couple of guys probably think I'm hitting on them or something. I don't know, but sometimes being too joyful, some people, it's really strange. And some of us think we're weirdos, and we just want to, we don't know what to do with ourselves. And I'm just full of joy. I want everybody to find this joy. If I can that's one of my prayers every day, especially for my family. Two of my sons are believers, but my daughter is definitely not. And I've seen the power of prayer. And one of my prayers is that for those people that I love so much that really, really need God, I just ask God, show up, Lord, show up, God, so clearly that they can't deny you. Because once they know that you're real, that you made them on purpose with a purpose, then life will be so different, like it is for me. So that's my biggest prayer. Yeah.
Thank you. And a fun fact about yourself.
Fun fact. So here's a fun fact. I went to IKEA a while back, about 3 years ago. And as I'm walking through IKEA, IKEA, they had a whole wall decorated really cute, and they had black chalkboard on the wall. And they had clocks on the top of different time zones. And then they had some stuff like little decorating, writing on it. So I got the idea. I said, I want to do the same thing. My plan is, in a couple of years, when I'm 60, I want to travel for 6 months. And what I want to do, I'm part of my book, writing my book and all this other stuff is to help me with that as well. But where I can work from home, so to speak, from my computer. But what I want to do is go explore the world, find 6 places, maybe 12 would be better, but 6 places, and stay 30 days in different places throughout the world. Just get a VRBO for 30 days. And then I have my selected group of friends that I'm going to email them and say, hey, for the next 6 months, I'm going to be here, from here. You're invited. You have a place to stay, because I'll get 2 bedrooms. Just buy your plane ticket and come see me for a week. And I just want to be enjoying my life and doing that and decorating. But as far as obviously my projects are big, very important to me, and you helping, doing this video is going to help me feel more comfortable to just go out and start putting all those ideas to video too.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, on behalf of Embrace the New You, thank you so much for sharing your journey and supporting the ETNU movement.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.